Joining us now on the program over the phone call is Barrister Kevin Asekome, a legal practitioner. Barrister, good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's great to be with you.
It's a pleasure. Let's get straight into the conversations. I know you followed the build-up to the events. In keeping with the action of officials of the FCTA, were they acting on the stipulated guidelines in accordance with law?
Yes.
Now, the PDP, one of the aggrieved defaulters, feels as though they are being witch-hunted by the FCT minister, who is a PDP revered chieftain, and his disagreements with them over the past few days, especially with the blatant call-out of the Oyo State Governor, His Excellency Seyi Makinde, over the position of the national scribe of the party. Do you see any thin lines between these accusations and the activities of the officials less than 24 hours after the FCT minister was said to have been disgruntled?
Well, the issue, I am not into politics that much, but the issue here is, are they in default of the ground rent? That is the pertinent question that should be answered. You see, people have this parallel. They say, if the bird that knows that is fed as a value does not fly close to the ground, when you find yourself in opposition in any place, it is a duty on you to always be found to be on the right side of the law, and for you to do things so that you be in a position to criticize the government for not doing what they are supposed to do. Now, they are saying it's a witch hunt. What if the ground rents were paid up to date? Any reason or any way they will have been witch hunted in this matter. I'm not saying the elements of witch hunt are not there, but the thing is, why would you lay yourself open for a witch hunt? You understand? The law is right. The Land Act describes the payment of ground rent and levy as the custodian of the land as assigned to you by the governor of the state or a minister in the case of the FCT. Now, if you are defaulting paying those ground rent and other levies prescribed by law, and the governor or the minister decides to take action, I don't see anybody saying you cannot reasonably fault it. Though on the moral standpoint, we might fault the timing that is coming when the minister of the FCT and the PDP are having a running battle, and maybe he's using his power to now intimidate the House of President. But the thing is that, are the methods legal? If they were not legal, definitely we will have reason to say the minister is not playing right. But how can you go ground rent for a period of even 5 years? I listened to the news before this interview, and I said we're going over 28 years. So it boils down to the typical Nigerian attitude of not being active and believing that all is well. If these people had paid this thing as prescribed by law, only I'm talking from the legal standpoint now. I'm not talking from the political standpoint. What does the law say? Does the law prescribe this ground rent and rent? Does the law require you to pay them? If yes, why have you not paid before now? So we tend to make political mileage out of every issue, whether right or wrong. And at the end of the day, offenders go free because their offenses are obscured in political, less in political diatribe. No, this person did this to me because I'm not from this party. Yes, they might want to say that they are not only doing ground rent or levy in the FCT. And I'm inclined to agree with them. But at the same time, why should you count among the ones that you are the opposition? don't even think of it. The PDP headquarters in Wadata Plaza is not the property of the PDP as an entity. They are tenants in that building. They pay rent. They don't feel and cry about doing their own headquarters, so much money was donated, but the project stands as one of the abandoned projects in Abuja today. So they are tenants. So they cannot say they are directly affected by the actions of the minister. It is the owner, the owner of the sector of occupancy for that plot on which the building stands that is liable to pay. So we will now say because the owner of the COO has defaulted, but because the tenant, the political party that happens to be the major opposition party in Nigeria, you cannot take action against.
Now, Barrister Kevin, you've raised a very salient point. They are not just the only occupants in the Wadata Plaza. Others were affected by this as well. One of the other persons affected is the FIRS, who are coming out in the opposite direction to say that, as contrary to publish, that they do not owe any ground rent and should not have been affected by this said picketing. Do they have a case?
Very good. Very good. If you can show evidence of payment, that you have paid your ground rent up to date, I think it's a matter of approaching the FCTA and telling them, I have paid, why do you want to come and disturb me? These are my receipts. Let the owner of this of the Wadata Plaza itself approach the industry if he has any receipt. Give them this official payment. I think they will go after anything. The question is, has the Wadata Plaza, I'm talking about Wadata Plaza, just like now, has the ground rent been paid? If so, present evidence of payment along this will be over. There's no need for this political human crime. The PDP is not the of Wadata Plaza. So they cannot claim to now be the major complainant in this issue. They are telling us if they go down to the place does not pay, they can move shop and go to another place. So it does only affect them directly.
Now, Barrister Kevin, we've also seen an intervention by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whereby now there's a 14-day grace period for the defaulters to pay up. What do you make of this intervention?
Well, you see, there's a difference between common law and everything. The common law is the strict application of the law. You understand me? But they're supposed to look at everything that comes to say, okay, if this law is applied as strictly as the law says, it might mitigate hardship for certain classes of people. So let us come in and, mitigate the hardship by doing one of two things. What the president has just done is to provide a suitable relief for those defaulting so that they can meet up their financial obligations without any major disruption to their operations or their activities wherever they have. I think that is why the action of the president is commended. Though ordinarily it's not bound to do it, but it's not taken as, okay, you people are only here, you go out to your president has made up the effort. I am giving you this grace to make your payment. Because it might be that some people didn't really have money to pay at that time, or the one or two things that prevented them from paying, which maybe 14 days grace will allow them to, overcome and then make payment. So the action of the president is not actually because it is what it's supposed to be, but it's just like a benevolent act extended to the defaulters to enable them to meet up with their payment. The comment is when the political standpoint, because now that the opposition party is involved in this issue, and the president from a different party has extended that to them, I think he is doing that to attract political mileage to himself. And at least the PDP will not say that he was not fair because he got directly involved in all this issue because the minister is the custodian of the land affairs. So the president is just using his supervisory function as the employer of the minister to say, okay, Mr. Minister, I know you are doing the right thing, but I want to done this way.
Now let's also take a listen to the Director of Lands in the FCTA who addressed my colleagues at a press briefing yesterday on further directives to these defaulters, and then we'll come back to get your thoughts. Now let's take a listen to the Director of Lands, Mr. Chijoke Nwakoeze, speaking yesterday. Take a listen.
Okay.
Any property holder should be able to know if he has paid for his right of occupancy bills or not. If you have done so, you expect to have been issued a certificate of occupancy. If you have not received that, you should have approached the Department of Land Administration to ask why that hasn't been done.
Now, it's almost a similar point you were driving, having evidence of payments. The legalities and technicalities around the ownership of lands, ground rents as it went due, C of O's, and issues especially with lands in the FCT. This has affected over 4,793 reported defaulters. Why is it that in terms of compliance and enforcement, there's this laxity, the years of ground rents owed, and this number of defaulters? It's quite alarming. What's your take on this?
Well, that is why I said in Nigeria sometimes we tend to overlook certain things until they become a problem to us. Now, maybe the previous minister in order with collecting the ground rent, and that's why I'm saying that. And without enforcement, these things are not easy. These are not done as a matter of course by Nigeria. Nigeria don't really need that until they are compared institutions. Now, if possibly if the former minister's office is not absorb the defaulters from blame. So if we were supposed to pay every year, the second period in the year that people have paid is ground rent, after which you are in default. So now, if let us assume that you comes asking for the ground rent, but that absorb of the obligation, yeah, I know. So if they have been paid without being prompted, I don't think this issue will have happened. The is very clear. There is a clause that says you have to pay all ground rent, pay all the relating to the tax, then you are keeping your food. So from the moment you are doing so, the moment you have a responsibility to pay, what to pay, you have to pay ground rent. It is different. So you cannot because nobody is going to have land, you are not going to that.
Now, Barrister Kevin, in closing, it's now a conversation of what ifs, what could be, and what should be. That is the conversation we're having now. At the expiration of this 14 days, would there be a revocation in keeping with the law, and these properties will now be property of the FCT, as we're now seen on some of the banners that were used to seal off the properties in question?
Yes. That will be that. But if I period, we don't have that now, the process and the president happens. I get that for 2 days. If that for 2 days is expired and nobody knows, if the CFO will go and we can't do the tablets, so they are ready to find the money.
Well, Mr. Kelvin, we must thank you for taking our time to give us legal perspectives to the developments that have ensued in the recent 24 hours following the sealing off of those offices. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a nice day.